It's another day and another build here in the studio at Microcenter. And today's build is going to be all ASUS themed. Every component in today's build is going to be ASUS themed. So that means our GPU, our motherboard, power supply, cooler case, all from ASUS, and a couple of extra other goodies. We want to go all out and showcase all of the different ASUS components that we sell at Microcenter. And this build is going to be pretty intense. First and foremost, for our CPU, we have an AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D. So that'll get you your 16 cores, 32 threads, and that expanded L3 cache. Honestly, really good performer, great CPU all around. Productivity, gaming, it's gonna do you just fine. But we paired that off with this AMD ROG CROSSHAIR X870E Extreme. And I gotta say, this motherboard really lives up to the name. This is a really intense motherboard, and we'll dive into it a little bit more as we get into the build, but there's a lot of features in this motherboard that I think you'll really be into. Now for memory, I paired this off with a kit from G.Skill. This is the Trident Z5 Neo. Now this is DDR5, 6000 megatransfers, CL28. This is gonna be a really, really nice memory kit. 96 gigabytes on these two sticks of memory, so that's gonna be really, really fast. And speaking of speed, I paired this off with a Gen 5 SSD with our Samsung 9100 Pro. Everything across the board, you're really talking about speed and performance. This is gonna be a really good high performer. But I wanna go for aesthetics as well, which is why I threw in our ASUS ROG Astral Dahab Edition. This is our gold-themed 5080. Not real gold, but I gotta say, I've held the real gold version, the 5090 version. It looks just as good as the real thing. And this is a hefty, hefty GPU, but this is gonna look pretty good in this build. Now for our power supply, we have a 1200 watt ROG Strix Platinum. This is gonna be really good. It's definitely gonna power our CPU and our GPU just fine. All right, so for the cooler, we're going for an AIO. This is the ROG Eugen 360. I think I pronounced that right. I probably didn't. Correct me in the comments below. AIO is gonna keep the CPU running nice and cool. And everything here is gonna be housed in this really epic looking case. This is the ASUS ROG Hyperion. Sounds like a spaceship, looks like a spaceship. This thing is incredible. Like, this thing is really, really cool. I really like this case a lot. We're gonna dive into this. We're gonna talk about some of the feature set in this case as well. We have a few extras as well, like this ASUS ROG ASOF Extreme keyboard. Paired this off with this ASUS ROG Keurig wireless aimpoint mouse, and then nice little ASUS ROG mouse mount. ASUS everything, right? It's kind of over the top, but I'm really into it. All right, we got all of our parts. Let's dive into the build. I have everything open and ready to go, so we're going to start our build. But first, I want to talk about this motherboard. The ASUS ROG CROSSHAIR X870E Extreme. This really is an extreme motherboard. It has feature set up the wazoo. Like, this is really crammed with features. If you're looking for the most premier system that you can put together, especially if you're into overclocking or anything like that, a motherboard like this is really what you need. Now, if you're just into gaming, you can get something like the ASUS TUF Gaming X870E Plus. That one's gonna do you just fine, and it's gonna perform perfectly well. The feature set that you get here across the board, it's going to be extra PCIe lanes. The chipset that comes with this is gonna be really good there. It's also gonna come with a bunch of Gen 5 PCIe, so that's gonna be useful. And it also comes with some other thermal capabilities. For instance, here on the back, you've got this whole back plate here, but it's kind of hard to see on camera. Inside, there's tons of thermal pads on the back that actually make this into sort of a heat spreader or heat sink. It's gonna help disperse some of that heat away on the backside of the motherboard. So there's a lot going on there. But also, it adds some rigidity to the motherboard, and it protects everything on the back, so all of those connections. So in case you're inserting it and if you're gonna scrape this on anything, it's gonna keep it nice and safe. LED screen right over here, which we'll take a look at once we get this system fired up. But the cool thing is, Gen 5 PCIe support. It's also got the little slide here, so you could do your quick installation of your M2 SSD. What I really like is the heatsink for the SSD. This is a vapor chamber. That is crazy. Like, look at this. That is insane. This is gonna keep that Gen 5 SSD running really nice and cool. So that's nice. You also have 2 PCIe slots here, both Gen 5. This is a Gen 5 by 16. This one's by 8. But you're going to run into no issues if you have a Gen 5 SSD and then you populate your GPU on this top slot over here. Obviously, you can support the 4 sticks of memory, no problem. This one actually supports up to 256 gigabytes of memory, which is insane. But we're only going to stick with 96 for today. Only 96. That's still a lot. Eagle-eyed viewers might notice this extra DIMM2 slot, and this is a really interesting addition. This is going to go right in here. This piece comes with the motherboard, and if you've never seen one of these before, it's actually kind of cool. It's almost like a RAM stick, but you can put 2 Gen 4 SSDs here, and that gives you some extra storage that you can add very quickly and easily. Now, why would anyone want anything like that? You could easily take this plate off, and there's going to be some more M2s underneath. When you think about that installation process, right, even for swapping out the SSD here, this is accessible, right, because the PCIe is going to be down there, so your GPU is going to be out of the way, but you don't really want to swap that. That's probably going to be your operating system anyway. You don't want to take your GPU out. You don't feel like taking this off. So what you can do is you can actually just add your additional storage onto here, and just as easily as it is to install some memory, you can just add this guy, and it snaps right into place. Heat spreaders right over here with your thermal pads. That's going to clamshell right on there. That's a really cool addition. Actually, I think that's a really cool feature set too for adding some extra storage quickly. There's a lot of solutions now for adding extra M2s, M2 NVMe SSDs across the board are just standardized as just the storage to have. They're nice and fast. They're priced really well. They're easy to install. So getting a couple of extra ones in there, even at Gen 4 speeds, that's going to do you just fine. Now, this is an eATX motherboard, so it's extended. This is going to be a bit wider than your ATX motherboard, so that's another thing to keep in mind. You have all of these connectors on the side over here, and there's a lot going on over here. USB-C connectors over here, so that's good if you have a case that supports that. Get that extra USB-C. There's power delivery as well, so that's going to help you if you want some better power delivery for that front USB. And then all the usual stuff, SATA, other USB connectors, obviously your AM5 socket, but across the board, this motherboard, pretty intense stuff. And of course, really good VRMs over here, so that's going to support power delivery. The motherboard also comes with this really nice ROG screwdriver, so I'm going to use this today. So we're going to start with the installation of our CPU. So again, 9950X3D. This is going to be a really fantastic pairing. 9950X would be really good as well, but figured wanted to go all out, get the X3D variant. There we go. I always love installation of SSDs on these ASUS motherboards because they make it so easy. So this little sliding mechanism, if you've never seen it before, I mean, it's super, super easy. Samsung 9100 Pro, Gen 5 SSD, blazingly fast, definitely one of the fastest SSDs we have at Microcenter. And that is how fast it is to install that SSD. Really, it probably takes me more time to get the plastic off the thermal pads than it does to get the SSD installed at this point. Done. And now we're just going to move on to our memory. So remember A2B2, little diagram is always going to be right there on the motherboard to assist you in case you ever get lost. I like this G-Scale memory, this Trident Z5 Neo, but the heat sinks on it, it's a little sharp on the corners. So when you push it down, you feel it in your fingers. Now, a system like this, it's going to be pretty good for gaming, pretty good for a lot of productivity, you know, your video editing, 3D rendering, things of that nature. Some AI use, you know, that 5080, it's going to be pretty good. You know, 16 gigabytes, you can run some AP models, no problem. So local AI use is definitely there. But this is definitely an enthusiast build, you know, for enthusiasts that really want to push their system to the max and have all of the support that they need on their motherboard. It's all there. I don't want to get fingerprints on this guy just yet, so I'm going to wait until I install this into the case and I'll pull off some stickers later. She's a big case. Definitely a little heavy. It's going to be heavier once we get all the components in there. Opens up nice and easily. This thing is massive. You have tempered glass on both sides. So tempered glass opens up kind of like a refrigerator door almost. It's got a little magnetic latch that's going to hold it in place, and it feels pretty good. Definitely going to hold it pretty well. Now this slides up nice and easy, comes right off I'm gonna pull the rear one off too, just to make it a little bit easier to work with. So here we have 3 intake fans, 140 millimeters for each one, and then one exhaust fan over here, also 140 millimeters. So pretty good airflow. I'm thinking our radiator, put it up top for exhaust. That's it, she's all set. Like the grommets, the design grommets they have here for the cables, pretty cool stuff. Really like the design that they have put along here as well. That looks really good. Dual GPU stands, so depending on how you install your GPU, we're going to do horizontal today, so we're going to be using this one, but if you want to go vertical, you do have to take off like most of these PCIe slots and then install it here, but supports both ways. And then the cool thing, little tool section over here, so that ASUS screwdriver that they gave you with the motherboard, keep that in there. Also got a little screwdriver cabinet or a screw cabinet if I want to keep my extra screws. This is actually kind of nice because you can keep your PCIe, covers over here, which I usually keep in the motherboard box, and then they just get lost eventually. You can actually store that in here and any additional screws that you also lose pretty easily. So that's actually kind of neat. That closes up just like that. It's kept nice and safe. Got a shroud over here that's going to cover our power supply. Back here we have a fan controller already built in. Everything is already run. So our 4 fans already run to the fan controller, so that's going to make things easier from a cable management perspective. And that paired with the AIO that I'm going to be using, it's going to keep my cable management pretty easy. And then dual USB-C, whole bunch of USB 3.0 on the front, big old power button over there. So there's a lot going on here. But this kind of like X design that they have going on, yeah, this looks sweet. I mean, if you definitely want to build a rig, this is the case to go with. All right, so this comes off. That's going to reveal our area for where we're going to install our AIO. But what I do like about this case, very easy to work with. Take off this plastic cover back here so we can access our cable run. All right, so this comes off, also has a hinge, slides right off pretty easily. So if we want to open this up so we can mount our rad or any other fans, have an intake from the side over here. That's pretty easy to put, but I'm just gonna put our rad on the top. So I really like this cable run that's already pre-installed. It's clean, it's neat. I'm gonna make it a little bit messy when I start working in there, but that's okay. All right, got the shroud off. Just getting everything prepped in the case so I can get my power supply in there. Power supply is gonna go here. Also, room for 2 hard drives if you want, and it's got those really nice sliding mounting plates that I love so much. Really makes hard drive installation so much easier. Look at that. Really nice tackle box that they give you for the screws. Like this is actually a really nice looking tackle box there. And then of course, all of our screws are in baggies, but what I always appreciate, everything is labeled. It does come with the plate to mount your GPU vertically, so you can install that pretty easily. What it doesn't come with is the riser cable for your GPU. So that's the one thing it doesn't come with. You would have to get that separately, but at least it comes with a plate for vertical mounting. But we're still gonna do ours horizontal. All right, so motherboard's installed. Got everything set with that. I'm gonna start getting some cables running in there. Now, motherboard power is on the side here, so you gotta kind of run it in first. Get it around this corner. Then you can get it plugged in. Just a couple of zip ties along this will keep this nice and neat. Now I'm gonna get the AIO installed. Now one thing I will say, the packaging for the AIO is actually pretty nice. So everything's packed away here. Got the radiator, pump, tubes, all that. And then the 3 fans individually wrapped. I always liked fans like these. So these have connectors so they interlock, also magnetic, and really strong magnets that hold this together. So there we go. These are held together really well. So 3 fans all set up. Gonna have them exhaust through the AIO. One interesting thing I do want to point out though, I talked about how it was magnetic to connect the fans together. I also really like that that's magnetic as well. That's on there pretty good. Like that's definitely holding up pretty fine. So very cool stuff. I'm going to take off the built-in hardware here. This is the bracket that comes on the motherboard for AM5. I'm going to put on the brackets to attach our pump. The screen on this AIO is pretty sizable. It's going to look pretty cool. And I think this just pops off, right? Yep, nice little fan underneath. Pre-applied thermal paste. So everything's going to be all set there. Now we're going to do our nice little star pattern. There we go. AIO is nice and installed. All right, little cable management later. gonna get our power supply in here, and I'm gonna start routing some cables in. All right, I've got the shroud all set. Everything's in place. Cables are all run. All that's really left to do is get our GPU in there, and then we'll get this to boot. All right, so I have our ROG Astral 5080 Dahab edition. Gold looking, not actual gold, but it's gonna look pretty good in here. All right, look at that. She's getting heavy, but she's looking good. Let's get those doors on. Let's get this thing fired up. And our build is all done. Got this all together. Just got my portable monitor over here just so I can get this to boot. But let's fire this up. Now, the tempered glass, it's a little bit dark in there. There we go. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So first of all, you have RGB on the panel on the side over there. You have RGB on the memory, the LED screen on the motherboard. That's actually really good looking, and it matches the LED screen that's on the AIO as well. All right, cool. We're in the BIOS. Everything's all set. So our build is finally all done, and I've got everything set up here. Using Armory Crate, I was able to get everything set up because there's an LCD screen on our AIO over here. Also, there's an LCD screen on the motherboard, and there's an LCD screen on the keyboard. I mean, this is awesome. Every single one of them is customizable. You can put your own custom imagery, so you can add whatever you want to there. So I was just playing around with that. But I really like that level of customization. Now, I have to say, this ASUS ROG, this Keras wireless mouse, super lightweight. I really like this a lot. And of course, this ASUS Extreme keyboard. First of all, this thing is hefty. Like, this is a really, really solid build. I like this a lot. It feels really good. Linear switches, which is what I prefer. And then obviously you have your little customizable screen there on the side. I like this little tactile switch that they have here. So I have it set for just, you know, music and things like that, but you can customize that to whatever you want. Also like the wrist pad. Always happy to have one of those. Now everything here, all ASUS, including the monitor. This is the ASUS ROG XG27 ACG. We've done a video about this in the past. This is actually a really good budget 1440 monitor, IPS panel, 180 Hertz, 1440 resolution. So all in all, this is a pretty good one. All right, so I have Doom Dark Ages running right now, and I have this set to Ultra Nightmare settings, full resolution. I do have DLSS on. I do have frame generation on as well. It's a 4X. There's a lot going on. This game gets really nutty once you start getting towards the end. There we go. So frame rate's looking really good. 365 right now, 1% lows, 170s, 150s. It's jumping around a little bit, but performance is definitely there. Now, my performance in this game, I could use a little bit more practice. It's really hard to talk and play Doom Dark Ages at the same time, and then you get the big baddie up here. But performance is definitely there with this machine. That 9950X3D paired off with that 5080, I mean, you're looking at a really mega combo in terms of performance, but also in terms of aesthetics, because this is the Dahab edition, the gold GPU. It's gonna look really good. It's gonna perform really, really well. The only thing better than this would maybe be a 5090. Maybe that ASUS Astral 5090 would be pretty good. So if you want to get a build as awesome as this, make sure you stop by your local microcenter. And when it comes to brands that sort of have a cohesion across all peripherals, all components, everything that you need for PCs, well, ASUS, they've really got you covered. Again, they have everything that you need for a full PC build, case, cooler, power supply, everything that you see here, all ASUS, and it's all running pretty well. Even though my Doom character definitely needs a health upgrade, but he's gonna be okay. Make sure you stop by your local microcenter and check out our wide array of ASUS products. And if you don't have a microcenter near you, then be sure to comment #IWantAMicrocenter near me.